Welcome to the final episode of our Fight with Spirits series, everyone. Haley was a phenomenal guest this series, talking about this game with us, and this episode is no exception. Before we get to today's episode, here's what to expect in the calls to action after the show. Join us back here for another plug for the Skyjoust supplement created by the Storybrewers in collaboration with our own network overlord, TV's James D'Amato, for this very game. We'll also go over the normal show closer stuff, including thanking our patrons. It's just me again today. Life will hopefully settle down soon for the both of us to get back into our normal cadence relatively soon. We will see. With all of that out of the way, enjoy the show, everybody.
This is my time.
Welcome back to our discussion episode. Last time, we finished our session 0 for Fight with Spirits. This episode, we will be discussing the character creation process. We are very excited to welcome back Haley Gordon. Do you want to reintroduce yourself for everyone? And then please tell us about the character you made in our last episode.
Yeah, for sure. So I am, again, Haley. My pronouns are she and they. And you can find me at Storybrewers. That's not what I'm trying to say. And I'm one half of Storybrewers role-playing and creators of Fight with Spirit and many other games. And my character that I made in the last episode was Cal Trevitt, who is the captain of the Dockside Demons, and it's got a lot of problems. Basically, this is the year for the Dockside Demons. Cal's gonna make sure of it. They put a lot of their own time and money into fixing computing equipment so that we can really train at Decimation Squad 5, because this is very important. And after more or less everyone in the world abandoned them, the only person that they're still like is Victor, who they managed to coerce onto the team. And so, but you know, this year sky's the limit. They're doing great. They made it to the quarters, and I'm sure Cal will not have any sort of mental breakdowns at all.
Cal's doing great.
Cal's
what are you
fine.
talking about? Cal's
Exactly.
fine. Thank you for asking.
Uh-huh.
Ryan, you want to tell us about your character?
Absolutely. I made Victor Dangerton, a.k.a. Two Shoes McGee, 14.
I know it's only been 10 minutes. Like, I know it's been a week for our listeners. It's only been 10 minutes since I last heard this, but I still forgot that his last name was Dangerton.
Victor is one of the strikers on the team in his second year. He's brand new to the team, and he is trying to bring his enthusiasm for the game into the team to lead us to victory. But it doesn't hurt that he looks really good too, and the fans love him. So he kind of leans into that to kind of shine the spotlight on the persona that he has created for himself, to kind of avoid showing the true self to his fans, which is a shy young man that isn't the greatest with people overall. So very interesting to see kind of where that goes. But he's being scouted by the Arrows, the reigning champs, because the Arrows are a team of people that are just there to win, and they don't have any public persona. So they wanted to bring Victor on in order to have that public persona going there. And if he did, he'd get a full scholarship. But you know what? So would his sister.
Mm.
And if they both go to the same school together, that might be a dynamic duo that would be unstoppable. Amelia, you want to tell us about your character?
Sure. My character is Estelle Troxel at Sparksfly. Estelle is a hardcore Swiftie, very girly on the outside, but also loves Decimation Squad, and is really good at it. Estelle took last year off because the demons didn't even enter any tournaments or anything, and she kind of felt like maybe as she was getting close to the end of her college career, she should start focusing on the, quote, real world. But she missed it too much, so she came back. She's really struggling with the fact that Cal is the team captain, though, because she's the most senior member of the team, if you go by age and years in college. And so that's been a little bit rough. But she's just really trying to figure out what comes next for her, because she doesn't want to give up the game after college. She wants to find a way to keep having it as part of her life.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go ahead and dive right into a segment that we are calling D20 for your thoughts.
D20 for your thoughts?
In this segment, we like to talk to our guests about their thoughts on the character creation process, how it works in this system, how it relates to other games. Before that, though, the quintessential question, how did you get into RPGs, and how did you get into designing from there?
Yeah, so my partner and I, my partner is the other half of Storybrewers role-playing me, we were very into board games for a long time. And then one day, V brought home something that was also in a box, shrink wrapped. It had like little miniatures. It had like dice, board game stuff. But it was not a board game. It was a role-playing game. And it was Mouse Guard. And so that was how the first role-playing game that I ever played, just because it felt like it could have been a board game, but it wasn't. And to be honest, it took a little while to work out what role-playing was. Like, we didn't really know what it was. We knew how to roll the dice and like hit things, but like we didn't really know how we were meant to tell the story. But shortly after that, we played Fiasco. And I think that was a big help in like understanding, I like kind of had that light bulb moment of like, oh, this is kind of like improvised theater, but sometimes with dice and sometimes not with dice. Let's go.
Fiasco's a really good game to bridge that gap between like board games and role-playing games.
For sure. So that's how we got into, and then I kind of got hooked from there. Love storytelling, love stories. How I got into designing games, really, like, basically as soon as we played a few games, we started like homebrewing stuff, like with, no intention of sharing it with anyone in the world, just like for our own fun and interest. Most of it was terrible. Probably all of it was terrible, but it was a whole bunch of fun. And then one year we just made a game to run at a convention, which was ended up being our first game, Alas for the Awful Sea. And we just took it to the convention, and people were like, "Great, where can I buy this?" And we were like, "Eh." So
I'm sorry, you want to pay money for this? I'm confused.
So we decided to kind of like chuck it up on Kickstarter, and yeah, it all went from there.
That's very cool. In your opinion, Haley, what makes for a great character creation system?
I think it really depends on the objectives of the game, what kind of stories or experiences the game is built for. So obviously what's going to make a great character creation system for a game that is entirely about tactical dungeon crawling and doesn't have as much emphasis on who your character is and, the drama of their lives is going to be really different from the kind of character creation system you need for a game like Fight with Spirit, where, it's all about the drama. Even the sport is about the drama. So I think those things are really different. So I think I can't really speak in general, but I can speak to what we like to think about when we make a character creation system. Definitely, like, our thing as Storybrewers is like we make games that are emotional, collaborative, and evocative. So definitely looking at the drama end of the spectrum, like, we make games to tell stories, and mostly stories about relationships and people. And so for us, a character creation system, you gotta feel like when you start the game, you know what, like you have a lot of stuff to work off. Like you're not gonna be there in like the first moment of play and be like, okay, what do we do? Like what's happening? Like even if the person, you know, like our games don't really have GMs or anything like that on the whole, but like even if the person running the game doesn't do anything but say start scene, there should be a bunch of stuff that you already know that you like want to do or explore or say. So I think for me, a good character creation system for one of our games is all about like having that drama out the gate, having those wants and desires and goals for your characters that are really going to be the first step in driving the game forward.
You can definitely see that in this game for sure.
Yeah, I love that, like, you know, even just with those connections and the questions and things like that, that it was, you know, we kind of sort of handed over everything that were like, here's what I would like to see happen. You know, here's all the problems I would like to cause.
Yeah.
Do what you will with that. Here's the sort of mischief I will be up to if you need me.
Exactly.
One of the things that we like to talk about is the character sheets, because they're usually sort of like the first interaction people have with the game. We did this online, so we used, you know, like a digital tool that you had, but also you'd mentioned before we started recording that there's some of this can be done with cards. I'm personally curious about what kind of like thought went into making each of those, and really like how you kind of bridged the gap, how you tried to get the same feeling with the online tools that you did with the physical stuff.
Yeah. So that's definitely something that V would be able to talk to way better than I will, because she does all the graphic design for us. But I know that when we're looking at making a character sheet, like basically for this game, we wanted it to feel really quick and easy for people to start making their characters. So if you think about it in person, like what you're doing, you just have all these trade cards on the table that you're looking through and you're like, oh, that looks cool. And like you just pick up the ones you like, and we didn't see this because we didn't see the in-person character sheet, but they like have boxes where you put the cards on. And so you just pick up the ones you want, you put them on the boxes, and like you're already like, okay, I kind of have a character. So just to feel really inviting. The other thing we wanted to make sure of is that like the sheet is organized well in according to when you need the different types of information, so that you can kind of flow from one side of the sheet to the other. You know, that's the part that you need for the early part of character creation kind of flows across to the later part of character creation. And then there's a section inside that is really just used during the game that has like some useful references and some ways of tracking different things for your characters as well. So everything is kind of like grouped together according to when you need to use it, and it just makes it intuitive and easy to find things on the character sheet as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice with all of those drop downs, and you know, I know that the cards kind of serve that same purpose to just have those prompts in front of you, and I felt like it made things a lot less overwhelming. I get very, you know, paralyzed by like decision making and trying to figure out where to go, and having so many things in there that it's like you can just kind of choose from these options, and then it tells me exactly what I need to do with those, you know, gives you the questions for your background and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I felt like it made things really snappy and really easy. And made it a lot less overwhelming, because when you originally look at it, it's like, oh, there's a lot of things that I need to pick. But having so many sort of like preset that it's like, no, just pick one of these and then it'll help you fill in from there.
Yeah,
it was really helpful.
Absolutely. And I can see on the physical sheet the board game influence for sure.
Yeah.
Like you can definitely tell that the two of you have this like board game origin put into this game itself, because you've got the, you know, places for tokens, you've got the actual physical cards that you can place on different areas of your sheet. Really, really well laid out. And I do like how you've got everything just kind of framed in there. It's pretty easy to kind of follow along, even on the physical sheet, to when you're dealing with the cards and everything, you know where to put everything.
Yeah, things are very well color coded and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal. And like, we really want, whether it's the sheets or the online play document, whatever it is, we really want it to be like helping people to remember the rules and to like know what to do, rather than like being intimidating or making people feel like there's so much work they need to do, you know, to put things in the right place or fill it out. Like, we want it to be an aid that you can help people with.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even on the online sheet, you've got a like checklist of make sure you do this stuff in order to get to where you need to go for all your characters. And just makes it so you don't forget anything, which is nice.
That's the goal.
It technically didn't need the book at all.
Yeah. I always like it when it's like really clear what I'm supposed to do, where things are supposed to go, what I'm supposed to do next. Like that's what I always look for on like sheets and like the character creation process. It's like, do I know what I'm supposed to write, where it's supposed to go, when I'm supposed to do it? Yeah.
I like it. So that kind of leads us into the next question of how we thought the character creation process for Fight with Spirit kind of stacks up to other games that we've played and created characters for.
I'm curious, from you, Haley, like, were there certain games that you really like drew things from when you were coming up with this, with like how the layout looked and how, you know, how you made choices?
I do think that it's hard for me to speak to the layout because that's very much me.
Right. Yeah. You're like, I don't touch it. No.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how we made it look so good. But I do totally like going off what Ryan is saying, like definitely that board game influence there, like just some general codes and conventions that like board games use that are like, you know, a lot of people are familiar with that like make things a lot easier, like on the character sheet. In the token section, you know, like got the plus minus to tell you that what the tokens do and like the little icons and stuff like that. I definitely feel like we drew from those like little conventions that board games have to really help people be able to better engage and understand and use the game as a reference. That just adds so much like in my opinion, like quality of life and like really help people when they're playing the game to remember things.
Yeah.
I
definitely felt like the process was really clear, and I liked how it really kind of was a sort of like a funneling kind of a thing that is like, okay, we start with what game do we want to play? What team do we want to play for? You know, like kind of who am I? How do I relate to this game and the world? And then the other people that are on my team, and sort of like by the end, we really had these complex people with these relationships and, you know, like weird dynamics within our own team and things like that. It really, you know, kind of going from that broad to narrow. It felt like really clear where things were going, so that by the end I was like, I know who this person is. I know what I want.
And it was
all what to do.
It was all cohesive too, right?
Right,
like,
right.
The decisions we made right at the beginning, like 100% were like all throughout the veins of all the character creation, even up to the like the extra NPC quote unquote connections. That we made for each of our characters.
Well, I mean, and I think like how those decisions that we made were all important too. Like there wasn't anything that we decided that was unnecessary, really. Like we, you know, the fact that we decided to like play in this sort of basement room or whatever that was, you know, where half our stuff had been co-opted, like became really important, especially like for Cal spending their own money on this kind of stuff and reorganizing the room and, you know, mowing lawns and all that kind of stuff. You know, our faculty advisor person ended up being one of our NPCs that we made. You know, there wasn't a single decision that we made as we went through that process that didn't come up again later. Which I really like, because I think a lot of times there's stuff that it's like, oh, pick this thing or this thing. And it's like, we're never going to touch that in the game. Like, that's never going to matter. I felt like every decision we made mattered.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell that this game is like very centered around relationships with the way everything kind of interworks with one another.
Yeah.
Like everything about each of our characters is also about how our characters relate to other characters.
To the larger story and to the other people. And
Yep.
yeah, we weren't just like making we weren't making ourselves. We were making, ourselves in relation to everybody else and making the other people and all of that. I think really, it's like the traits that we picked and things like that, the way even those questions are worded really kind of push you toward that
everything
that sports drama too, that it was like we're clearly, regardless of what level we decided to describe the game itself at, it was really clear that drama was one of the big traits. I forgot what I was saying. Like halfway through that sentence, I had to really like wrap it up and like get there. I was like flipping to the script, like, what was I talking about?
I think it was coherent enough.
I hope it came out. Fix that in post, Ryan, because I was like, I'm on a roll, and then about halfway, I was like, I forgot which train I'm even on.
Yeah, but no, it's really interesting because like a lot of games, even games that have a lot of inter-party connections and everything like that, you're still creating individual silos of characters. And this
then you
feels
put them
like
together.
there's no walls.
Right.
Yeah, this feels like there's no walls between the characters at all. It feels like they're all part of the same machine instead of separate machines that fit together.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, is that there are so many games like where we've, because we love doing those relationship connection questions and things like that. But I think, this is one where it definitely felt like we were making a team and then characters kind of came out of that and not just making characters and then smushing them together. Haley, this is the part of the show where we tell you about your game. So I noticed you were sitting there like nodding, and I'm like, "This is great."
I'm like, that's exactly like that's that was like fully our intention. Like, this is a sports game about a team, and it should feel like you're making a team. You're making people on a team who literally can't disconnect themselves from each other. I mean, like, Ryan's character Victor, his whole thing is like, do I move to another team or not? And that's like a huge drama because, changing teams means so much. And like that, that's coming through in everything you're saying about having like that experience of being part of that team, of being so enmeshed in that team and the way you create your characters.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that like, you're longtime childhood friends with, his sister's girlfriend, like it's all like none of us could get away if we wanted.
Yeah.
Like, and believe me, Estelle has tried.
Yep. Always get pulled back in.
Yep. That's how drama works.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I feel like we've touched on some of this because we've talked a lot about like the drama. But how do you feel like the process of making characters reinforces what playing the game is going to feel like? So if you're a person sitting down and you've made characters, how do you feel like it sets our expectations for what happens next?
Yeah. I think like the first thing I would say is that I think that the first thing that the game needs to convey to you very quickly is that this is a collaborative game where there isn't going to be like a GM who's going to come in and be like, this is a story, or like play the whole of a rival team or anything like that. It's going to be collaborative. Every bit of it we're going to put together, together. We're going to put it together. And
togetherness that's our team motto.
Yeah, together. Do it together. And so like, I hope that right from that first step, going into collaboration and making those decisions, people are having that realization that they are going to be a driving force in what this game becomes. And that, they're really going to be the ones who, through their own characters and the connections they play and the teams, are going to be pushing this story forward and are empowered to make the story about their characters and also to support the stories of other players as well. So that's one of the most important expectations that I hope comes across. The other thing that is really important to come across during that, during the creation process is like, exactly that thing of like how much your character's actions are going to affect the other characters, how much you're going to shape each other's worlds and influence each other's worlds, and how much you are going to need to be a team or fail to be a team. And that will have big influence on your story throughout, because, you know, that question, I mean, I'm bringing it back to the tempting offer again, but I think it really shows a lot of things. You know, that question of, do I go to another school? Do I take this offer? It doesn't mean anything if Victor's decision doesn't have any impacts on the other characters, right? So the game is trying to get you used to the idea that everything your character does is something that happens to the team. And everything that happens to the team is going to be big in the game overall.
Victor can't leave. I don't think Cal's abandonment issues could handle that.
No. What if Cal comes with Victor?
Oh no. But then I'd get to be captain, so.
Then you get to be captain.
But then there's not enough people for a team, probably.
No.
And you'd be really letting down Dr. Bottom.
I know. We can't let that happen.
No.
I did really enjoy, what really clicked in place for me is when we started not creating the extra connection characters, but assigning ourselves to those connection characters that, we're going to be playing more than just one person in this game. And there's unknown connections that we can add later and we can hop into those type of characters as well. And the fact that we don't focus on ourselves as a whole as part of the game, it also kind of goes into that whole thing of there's no walls. You're all blended together. You're all part of the same team, but you're also the auxiliaries of your team and the people on your team.
I think it adds to the drama too, because I'm just thinking about like obviously through character creation, you usually start to get kind of attached to your character, but I can see how through play, I'm like attached to Estelle, but then, you know, I'm also attached to these other characters that I'm playing and start to root for them too, even though it might not be for the good of my team. And like,
I know,
you know, like I'm going to start feeling very attached to, Armitage, and like, you know, like be like, okay, well, maybe I want her to win this, you know, like this rivalry, and like, oh, that's so much drama.
And it really makes for that.
Be like, oh, I really do want them to be together.
Yeah, and it makes for that final round if these two teams face. That makes it for even more juicy drama, right? Yeah. Because at that point, we've got so much gameplay under our belts that like we're really attached to all these characters. What that's ripe for like some nice conflicting feels going into that game.
That's the goal.
So nice. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's going to be so messy.
It's going to be so messy. One of the questions that I love to throw to game designers especially is, what do you think is one of the biggest flaws of character creation in this system? And what is your favorite part?
Great question. I think that one of the biggest flaws of character creation in the system is that if you don't take the time to talk it through or focus on it, like if you gloss over it, the team, not the team story, but like the schools and the geography and the way that you're all like connected. You know, like we talked through like a lot of stuff about, South Beach Sharks are the community college and maybe they're not very far away from us. And like we added that in, but the game like doesn't force you to add those elements. And we tried forcing people to add those elements and it didn't really help or work. So I think you can it's possible to like this, you know, so much other stuff to focus on that you can like fade away from the like tactility and like groundedness of how all your teams actually fit into the same world and the same reality. And they start like the rival teams particularly start becoming these abstract entities that just like come in and out of the game when you need them. And like, that's fine. Yeah. But I feel like the game is better when you're like, on the bus going somewhere and you pass by South Beach and like you see them coming out of practice or whatever it is, right? Like when the interconnectedness isn't just about the characters, but about their world as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something that we know is a flaw, but it's just like there's so much that you need to think about and bring to life in this game. Adding that in as something that people had to do didn't really help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a point where it's like, okay, we've had you keep track of the most important things, and while these things are like it starts to like diminishing returns after a while.
Yeah, exactly. What do I think its strengths are? I mean, I think we've talked about them at length, to be honest. Like, as in, like, the unison between what the game is trying to achieve and the way that the character creation process, what it puts emphasis on. I'm going to say that forward because I said it backwards. The unison between what the character creation process puts emphasis on and what the game is trying to achieve is I hope one of its strengths. I think that for us, we really take the philosophy that a thing should, first and foremost, do the job that it's made for. And so if it's emphasizing the right things that are needed for the game to be more enjoyable and to, bring out what the story needs to bring out, I think that's a strength.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a thing that we've definitely talked about on this show before, because I've certainly talked about it as like an Ennies judge too, like looking at a game and saying, what does this game say it's supposed to do? And then do the mechanics support you doing that thing? And I feel like just having gone through the character creation process of this, like it feels like it's doing exactly what it says it's supposed to do, and the rules are supporting that.
Mm-hmm. Plus, when you're minded of like collaborative world building, it's one of your favorite things, and you have all that open-endedness to like just be like, well, yeah, let's just add all this extra detail in there because why not? That's a lot of fun.
Speaking of open-ended detail, Ryan,
I know
it's time for your favorite segment of the show.
I know.
Fanfic.
Okay.
This
Fanfic.
is where we pretend that we're going to play the game and we just talk about it instead of actually playing. Because we kept finding out that we were doing this. We kept like being like, oh, I wonder what would happen if this. And then finally we were like, let's just have a fanfic segment where we pretend these are the things that are happening in the game.
Yes.
So,
That's very fun.
Yes.
Okay. So as we are creating stuff, I have a very specific thought that Dr. Humphrey Hithersbottom, halfway through the tournament, like realizes that his experience with mythological creature fights in ancient literature applies remarkably well to strategies within the game itself.
Oh, interesting.
And like starts pulling out this like completely off the wall, unhinged strategy that works too well.
Ooh. He's like, if you had read the ancient texts,
Yeah.
you would know.
Yeah.
According to the ancient tomes.
Yeah, it turns out the developers of the game are like huge mythology nerds.
Oh my God, I love that so much. That like Dr. Hithersbottom starts to get like really into it too. He starts to care. Oh,
yeah.
We love that for him.
We do.
That's great. That's great.
So that was one of the big things that I was thinking of. A whole story arc for Dr. Bottom.
I love it. I love it. I would also like to add a side story arc where Estelle gets everybody to like actually respect Taylor Swift and understand that the genius of her music.
Does it play over like you imagine the TV show version of our game? Does it play over the final match against the Arrows?
Yeah.
As we slow motion, employ our anti-gravity tactics.
Yep.
I like the unhinged thought that all of the music is kind of inspired by Taylor Swift.
Oh,
throughout
like the
series.
music throughout the whole show.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like, because like
We just need Long Live to play like through the credits,
I know, right?
and then we'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's an easy sell for Victor because like I'm sure that Stephanie is also a Swiftie of some sort.
Yeah. I would love to see Estelle and Estelle and Stephanie. I was like trying to say both names and I kept tripping up. Estelle and Stephanie become friends. I think that would be fun.
It would be amazing.
Is Victor gonna fall in love?
Oh yeah, this is an important question.
The answer is yes. The question is with
whom? Oh,
yes.
Who are our options?
Gosh,
everyone.
Well, I mean,
Ryan's like everybody. I don't know.
It's pretty much everybody on the list. Almost.
If we don't get like one Rivals to Lovers out of this game, I'd be disappointed because there's just so much potential. For
honestly,
so many
why are you
characters.
even playing?
Yeah. So I mean, Armitage is definitely one of the considered ones there, and then probably Estelle as well is a potential.
Mm-hmm.
And probably there's got to be somebody else like on one of the other rival teams as well that probably catches his eye that's unnamed currently.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, he's the heartthrob, right?
It's true.
So he's going to be like constantly put into, for him, very uncomfortable situations that he's going to start like developing these feelings and making those situations even more uncomfortable.
So this means though that there has to be an episode where Victor is supposed to go on a date and the whole team has to help him get ready and like prepare to like actually go on a date and be like, no, you need to like pull out the chair. You need to hold the door open. You need to like here's some small talk topics of conversation. Like
right. And what Victor didn't tell the team is that he accidentally set up 2 dates for the same night.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And now he's got a hop between them.
I reckon that it's Victor seemingly going to go on a date with Estelle that gets Cal to realize their underneath feelings for Estelle. That's what I think. That's what I think happens.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Oh God. This is good drama. Because then there's like the whole team dynamics and like, the
second match with the Sharks would be like from an observer's point of view, from the audience point of view, like emotionally devastating, I think, either way. Because like we've set up like all these good connections between folks on the Sharks. And like, there's so much on the line and so much like we're one step away from the finals, right? And you're rooting for both of these teams because these are, quote unquote, the good guy teams of the anime, right?
Yeah.
So like,
well, and over the course of this, we've learned to really like love Stephanie too.
Yeah,
like,
there's got to be
she's
like
the person that like I imagine she's like the person that like keeps Victor kind of like centered in his life. Like she seems like,
I
feel like
Victor is very uncertain and Stephanie seems like the kind of person that's like, no, you've got this. Like, you can do it.
there's got to be a moment where like in the match where like Stephanie and Victor have to go head to head and one of them like has to, strike the final blow that will bring the other team down and they like have to have that moment with each other.
Yeah. I like the thought that like the matches are best 2 out of 3 or whatever. And I like the thought of between 2 of the matches, like maybe it's 1-1, one win on each side, and then the final third match is like the one. And between that break, like Stephanie actually gives a pep talk to Victor to like, because like his nerves are starting to get to him.
That's sweet.
And she says, just let go, just give it your all.
Yeah,
You
like
know,
it's
I don't
very like
wanna-
a
I don't
stop
wanna-
worrying about me.
Yeah.
I can handle myself. Go
Yeah.
be you.
Exactly.
God, I love these people.
That's
They're so
perfect.
good. How is Cal handling all of the pressure of like being the team captain and I think kind of being a little bit of a control freak? And you've got, one player who like potentially might leave and one player who doesn't really like you, and like how is this going for Cal?
Yeah, I feel like Cal has to have that moment where like they try to control too much and it kind of just like stifles everyone's style, right? When they play.
Mhm.
And that, that round of the like out of 3 it goes really badly for the team. That's gotta be like the moment for them that like sparks the idea that like, control isn't always the way to like get people to be part of a team.
Right. Yeah, that moment of like maybe the best thing I can do as captain is let my players shine the way that they need to shine and not the way I want them to.
Yeah. And I feel like playing the Neons is going to bring that out in a lot of ways, because it's like the Neons just can't work together because they're like way too off in their own worlds. But maybe during the match, we're having trouble working together because Cal is trying to bring everyone together too, like forcefully and aggressively. And like the story of that match in some ways for Cal is like finding that balance.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, basically, we've plotted out a season full of episodes.
Oh,
here,
yeah. I mean, the game has an episode
Basically.
structure. Like, you literally do the opening credits and then closing credits. So, we're ready to go.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, there does need to be at least one shopping montage. Otherwise, why are you playing role-playing games? I think that's really important. Probably before Victor goes on his dates. I think is when it's going to be important to do that. It's
got to be it.
Yeah. Yeah,
This
or
little
like we
shopping
decide to
montage.
like look super cool for the finals or something,
But like the rest of the team gets dressed up too, because they're going to be kind of shadowing in the restaurant, like a couple tables over, to make sure things go well.
Yeah. Well, we're there to support you.
This is ripe for shenanigans, and I am here for it.
Yeah, which one of us is pretending to be the waiter?
With like a little fake mustache.
Yeah, right. Please let it be Estelle with the fake mustache. Right, but she still has like a big like sparkly headband on. It's like it's like not really trying.
Perfect. No notes.
Yeah, just change her name to Esteban instead.
Yep.
I like the like vibe that I'm getting from our game, that it's gonna like be one of those shows that like alternates between like like serious drama, which our characters like do feel in a heartfelt way, and then like completely goofy moments, and somehow it's just gonna like be able to like handle that like cut back and forth, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm loving that it's like we do have to have like silly 2 dates on one night, and but then also like who is Victor gonna pick? Like it's really important. Are you going to stay on our team? Which team are you going to pick?
I know.
It's going to be devastating, no matter what.
Everything could fall apart, or we could ride this to a massive victory.
It's true. It's true. Oh my gosh.
So good.
Okay. I love everything about this.
I want to play this so bad.
Yep. Well, that's... Welcome to the real problem of this show, Ryan.
I know.
Let's talk about kind of advancement in this game and take it up a level.
Take it up a level.
Take it up a level.
So in this segment, we like to talk about how character advancement and growth happens in this game. So how does that work mechanically in this game as you go from session to session?
So your character in Fight with Spirit doesn't like gain levels. They don't become a level 20 Decimation Squad 5 player. Instead of that,
no, that happens in the like meta story, right?
Oh yeah, that actually would happen in the meta story. You like advance in the game. Obviously, like you've got the literal like story like advancement of going through the tournament. So you're going from the quarters to the semis into the grand finals. And then on a personal level for your character, what you do is you're actually finishing up your traits when you meet your trait drives. And when you finish a trait, you have a choice of what you want to do. You can either say, okay, I'm done exploring the story of that trait. And you can take your boons and your goodies that were going to help you in the match ahead. And basically, when you use those in the match, then you just link them back to how, your trait helped you like in that moment. Or you can go through a little bit of a second arc for that trait by taking something called a condition. So if you drop down on next to a trait, the trait drop down, you see there's like a drop down that says trait. If you drop down there, you will see the option there for condition. And if you press that and switch over, you'll see that it now will let you choose from the list of conditions. So conditions are things that your character can experience or go through that sort of add a second part to the arc of the trait that they come from. So, for example, say I tried really hard to be the new captain, but it just ended in disaster. We almost lost the match. We only just scraped through. Maybe I'm like, and I achieve my trait drive. I pull rank and I put my foot down, but it just ends badly. The story of me and my captaincy of the team is by no means done, right? I've got more to explore, but my trait is done because I've achieved the trait drive. So I might choose to take the condition burnt out to, describe how my character is feeling now, doing now as a result of what happened in this arc. And burnt out has its own, own drive that will appear during the game for me to clear that condition. So unexpectedly retreat, falter, or stop dead, or go somewhere special to recharge. And by doing that, my character is going to learn more about what it means to be burnt out, but also finish up the story of the original trait of being the captain. I would like to note though, not all of these are emotions. Some of them are state of affairs, awaiting judgment. So say I broke a rule to be a great captain. Maybe now I'm awaiting judgment to see if I'm going to get kicked out of the league. And some of them are also positive things. So, there's something like thankful. So say that someone else helped me be the best captain I could be. Maybe what I want now to finish my arc is to give it back to them because I've always only been thinking about the team and never the individuals on it, right? Oh. So that's basically the mainstay of how advancement works in this game. You work through those conditions. You work through your traits, and then your traits can become conditions. And when you finish traits and conditions, they power you up to help you advance through the larger tournament arc and see what's ahead for your character. You can play so Fight with Spirit is played in tournaments. Once you finish a tournament, you can go and play the same characters in the next tournament, next year or whatever, if you would like to. It's especially fun if you lose, if you don't make it to the grand finals or you don't win the grand finals. And when you do that, when you move to the next tournament, you basically you remove your traits. You can keep some of them if you want to, but by default, you remove all your traits and conditions and you basically start again. So you have a whole new set of stories to tell for your character as well.
Very cool.
I really like the conditions in there, reading through some of them. They're really fun. And I feel like they can, some of them, give you choices like this or that. And it's ooh, I could cause so many problems with these.
Exactly.
I could be an absolute menace.
Yeah, it was important to us that with the individual conditions, there were different ways to resolve them. So anger, you could express that in a destructive way, or you could just express that in a determined way. And we wanted there to be able to be different options for how it played out.
Yeah, I liked that.
It definitely feels like it pushes the narrative there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that all of them seem to have a kind of I can do this well, or I can be messy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. Well, Haley, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Fight with Spirit. This was so much fun.
This is a blast. I had so much fun. It was great.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun creating characters with both of you and chatting about the game as well.
Absolutely. Can you go ahead and remind everyone where they can find you online and what sort of things you're working on?
Yeah, so you can find me at Storybrewers on YouTube, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, all of the socials. And if you look for Storybrewers role-playing, search for that, you'll find our website where we have this game and many, many more games as well. What we're doing at the moment, we just finished up the latest in our Little Box series. So they're basically like one-shot, no prep games. You can kind of play out of the box and tell a cool story in a few hours. So we're up to 4 of those in the series now. And definitely pulling from some of the stuff we learned in this game. Definitely like some of those board gamey elements coming through in aid of telling the story with those ones as well. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Well, thank you again for sitting down with us. And thank you to everyone for tuning in.
Call to action.
Yeah, like that.
I really loved the discussion that we had this episode, and the fan fiction that we came up with is phenomenal. And then Kevin on our forums and supporter on our Patreon gave us a nice little fan fiction for Dr. Bottom and the potential origin of Dr. Bottom's internet handle for this game. I highly recommend you check it out if you go to our Discord, discord.charactercreationcast.com, and find that in the fan creations portion. It was a delightful read, so thank you, Kevin, for that. But Haley was phenomenal this series. We're so glad to have them on and be able to discuss this phenomenal game and learn all about it and all that sort of stuff. And Storybrewers, they put out quite a few amazing games, and you definitely want to check them out. If you're interested in this game, you're probably going to be interested in some of the other games that they're putting out as well. So we've got links to all of that in the show notes, but we have official announcements, official calls to action. So before we let you go for the day, here they are. First up, we have one last reminder for the supplement for Fight with Spirit called Skyjoust. This supplement was written in collaboration with James D'Amato and includes 7 different tournaments, multiple jousting events, and much more. You can check that out on the Storybrewers website, which will be linked in the show notes. Next up, we would love to see our Patreon community grow. We are just around the break-even point, possibly slightly under at this point, and having a few more folks sign up will get us into a safe place going forward. Now that life is ever so slightly calming down, but not really at the same time, we are brewing up some ideas on more bonus content for you all. Outside of the normal early ad-free episodes, as well as any chit-chats that we end up being able to do. So hopefully that will come to fruition soon. If you like collecting stuff, now is the best time to join at the $10 level, as we have a bunch of new stickers on the way. And while supplies last, we will be sending out one of every sticker we've produced for new folks that sign up at this level. And we currently have them all. So if you get on that fast, then you can have all of the stickers. Getting all of these is an exclusive perk to our patrons at this level, and we'd really love to see more of them out in the wild. Of course, at the $5 and up level, you still get a set of custom C3 branded D6s from Chessex, a custom-made thank you card from the 2 of us, lovingly handcrafted by Amelia herself. And we also like to thank all of our patrons personally every episode, which is what we are about to do right now, starting with Lieutenant and DJG, aka Tigranosaurus. We appreciate your support so much. Thank you. Eric Bonts and Daryl Holiday II, you rock. Thank you. Shadim Kabal and the Shyest Barbarian, thank you so very much. Thank you to Benjamin Sweeney and Lorcan McGinnis. We couldn't do this without you. Many thanks to Rob Fletcher and Kevin Brown, Tentacle Duck and Cole McCallum. Thank you for your continued support. Thanks to John Adamus and Ursula's unrefined and unorganized ukulele unicorn unionizing under unjust, unorthodox, underrepresented urchins. We are glad to have you with us. Got it in one this time. Carlos Salazar and Eric S., thank you for your continued support. Ross Kingston and Ian Pontmeyer, we can't thank you enough, but we will keep on trying. Sorry Goth and Liam G., thank you for your continued support. Brian Colm and Garden GM, we're happy to have you here with us. Thank you. Tom and Blue Kryptonite, thank you for your continued support as well. Thank you to Danny and Nicole Trainer. Your support brings us so much joy. Liam Murray and Kenning, thanks for helping us make this show. Brian Kurtz and Mark E. Fair, we are so grateful to you. Thank you. And Drew Owen, thanks for believing in us. And thank you to all of our future patrons. Your support is helping to keep the lights on for the show. We are able to afford things like web pages, our cloud storage, remote recording software, editing software, and books that we cover, among a lot of other miscellaneous expenses. We are currently barely breaking even, a little bit in the red every month, like I mentioned earlier. So if you want to help us out at all, this is the absolute best way to do so, which will allow us to do even more for you in the future. Other ways you can help us out is leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Podcast Addict, Facebook even. Otherwise, you can talk about us on social media or join us on our Discord at discord.charactercreationcast.com and let us know what you think. That's all that we have for you for today's episode. We have a week off next week, but join us back here on April 1st as we kick off our 6-year anniversary month with the brand new host of the One Shot Podcast, Dylan Apalian, aka Super Dylan, to cover one of their many amazing games. Until then, take care, stay safe, drink some water, believe in the heart of your squads, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time. Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at CreationCast, or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, exclusive merch, and much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time.